Have you ever been there? You're watching an English movie, maybe understanding almost everything. You're following the plot. You even get the jokes. And then someone just turns to you, asks something super simple like, "So, how was your day?" And nothing. You just freeze.
Yeah.
The words are definitely there somewhere in your head, but it feels like they're completely stuck. Like you're trapped behind glass or something. You see them, but you just can't reach them. It's so frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. And if that sounds familiar to you listening, you are definitely not alone. So many English learners experience this exact thing. They study for years, they pass tests, enjoy movies, podcasts.
Right.
But then silence.
Mm.
When it's actually time to speak, they kind of hit what we sometimes call the language trap.
Okay, but the good news is, and this is really important, I think it's not your fault.
Not at all.
It's not because you don't have talent or you're somehow bad at languages. That's just not it. Think about your English knowledge like this amazing toolbox you've been filling up. You've got great tools in there, words, grammar, phrases.
You do. You have the tools.
But when you need to actually, build a sentence, a conversation, you open the box and it's like you fumble. You know the tools are in there, but grabbing the right one quickly, that's the challenge.
Exactly. And our mission today, really, is to build a solid bridge right over that gap.
Okay.
Because fluency in English, it isn't some kind of magic trick. It's not just luck.
Right.
It's a process, a deliberate one. And the amazing thing is, if you understand a lot, you're already halfway there. Your brain gets the language.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're going to explore a bit of the science behind how your brain handles language.
Okay.
The psychology, behind that speaking anxiety, and maybe most importantly, some really practical techniques that fluent speakers use, maybe without even realizing it.
So the goal is that by the end, you'll feel clearer, more confident, maybe even curious about how to unlock your own English voice.
Exactly. We want you to leave feeling empowered.
So if you've ever thought, I understand English, but I just can't speak it, then yeah, this deep dive is definitely for you. Let's start maybe with a really fundamental idea that explains a lot. Input versus output. What exactly are we talking about here?
Okay, so input is basically all the language you receive. So listening to us right now, watching a video, reading an article, that's all input. You're taking English in.
Makes sense.
Output, on the other hand, is the language you produce. So speaking, writing an email, answering a question, that's you actively using English to get your thoughts out there.
And the problem often lies in the balance between those two, right? Or maybe the imbalance?
The imbalance is huge, actually. It's quite surprising. Most learners spend maybe something like 90% of their time on input.
90%. Wow.
Yeah. And almost none on output. Think about it like watching hours and hours of cooking shows. You know all the recipes. You understand every technique.
You feel like a master chef in your head.
Totally. But then someone hands you an onion and an ice and says, okay, cook something. You'd probably hesitate, right?
Uh-huh. Panic slightly.
Because understanding fundamentally is not the same as doing.
So my brain might easily recognize words like, say, recommendation or eventually. I hear them, I read them, I know what they mean.
Yep.
But that doesn't automatically mean my brain has filed them away in a spot that's easy to grab when I'm speaking. It's almost like knowing all the lyrics to a song versus actually being able to sing it on stage.
Yeah.
Two different skills.
That's a perfect analogy. For speaking, your brain needs to forge these really fast automatic connections. And those connections, they only really form through active output, through actually using the words out loud.
So it's not that you forgot the word, it's that the pathway to saying the word isn't well developed.
Exactly. It's a lack of output training.
Right.
Input is crucial, don't get me wrong, but it needs to be sort of active input, the kind that naturally encourages output.
Yeah.
Just passively consuming English without ever trying to produce it yourself. Well, it won't build that speaking muscle.
Okay, so how can we start building that bridge? Like right now, today, what's a simple first step?
Okay, here's something super simple. genuinely actionable. Next time you watch a short video in English, just pause it afterwards and summarize what you saw. Out loud.
Just to yourself.
Yeah, just to yourself is fine. Don't stress about mistakes. Forget perfect grammar for a moment. Just try to put what you understood into your own words. That immediately starts bridging input to output.
I like that. Low pressure.
Or even simpler, try something called shadowing. You listen to a short phrase or sentence, and you immediately repeat it aloud.
Mimicking the sound.
Exactly. Mimic the sound, the rhythm. It's like telling your brain, hey, we don't just listen passively in English, we speak too. It starts activating those pathways.
Okay, so the big message here is basically just start. Don't wait.
Precisely. Don't wait for that mythical perfect moment to start speaking. Don't wait until your grammar is perfect or your accent is flawless, honestly. That moment never really arrives for anyone.
True.
You build fluency by using what you have now. Imperfectly, maybe a bit nervously at first, but bravely and consistently.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's shift focus a bit to vocabulary, because I think this is where another big aha moment happens for people.
Absolutely.
We all know a word like opportunity. Right. You read it in a sentence. She got a great opportunity to study abroad. You understand it instantly. No problem.
Yep. Easy.
But then picture yourself in a real conversation. Someone asks, so why are you learning English? And you want to say something about, better opportunities, but the word just, it evaporates. It's gone. What is happening there?
Okay, this perfectly highlights the huge difference between passive vocabulary and active vocabulary.
Passive and active.
Your passive vocabulary includes all the words you recognize and understand when you hear them or read them, but you don't necessarily use them yourself when you speak or write. Your brain knows them, kind of like recognizing someone's face in a crowd, but maybe you don't know their name well enough to call out to them.
Okay, so active vocabulary is the opposite. The words that just roll off the tongue.
Exactly. Active vocabulary is the set of words you can recall quickly, easily, and use naturally when you're speaking. And for most learners, the passive vocabulary is way bigger than the active one.
Really? How much bigger?
Oh, it can be a huge difference. You might passively understand, say, over 5,000 English words, maybe more, but only be able to actively use around 500 or maybe 1,000 in spontaneous conversation.
Wow. That's quite a gap.
It's like having a giant closet packed full of amazing clothes, but you end up wearing the same 5 comfortable outfits every single day.
Huh. I love that image. It feels very true. But why does that gap exist? Why is it so much harder to pull a word out than to just recognize it?
Well, understanding a word takes much less mental effort. When you read or listen, your brain just needs to match the word to a stored meaning. It can be a bit slower, more relaxed.
Passive.
Right, passive. But speaking, that's high pressure. Your brain has to find the right word incredibly fast, pronounce it correctly, fit it into the right grammatical structure, and manage the conversation flow, and think about what to say next.
It's a lot of juggling.
It is. It's a complex cognitive task. So your brain, being efficient, often takes the path of least resistance. It defaults to the simpler, more familiar words. Your active vocabulary, even if you passively know a better, more precise word.
Okay, so the million-dollar question. How do we get more outfits out of that closet? How do we turn those passive words into active ones that our brain actually uses?
Okay, a few really practical things. First, the mantra is, use it or lose it. Seriously. If you don't actively say a word out loud, your brain doesn't tag it as useful for speaking.
So practice saying it.
Yes. You need to use new words and sentences out loud repeatedly in different contexts. Take the word challenge, for instance. Don't just know the definition. Say things like, learning English is a challenge for me. Maybe one challenge I face is pronunciation, and I actually like challenging myself. You're building those retrieval pathways.
You're making the word work in different ways, connecting it to different ideas.
Exactly. Which leads to the second point. Personalize it. Connect new vocabulary directly to your life, your experiences, your opinions. Instead of just memorizing opportunity means a chance, try saying, I had an opportunity to travel last summer, or this new project is a big opportunity for my career.
Ah, so it becomes part of your personal narrative, not just an abstract definition.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It anchors the word. Third, shadowing and sentence building. We mentioned shadowing. You can take it a step further. Hear a sentence, repeat it, then tweak it slightly to make it true for you. If you hear, he finally achieved his goal, you could say, I finally achieved my goal of running a 5K. You're not just knowing the word achieve, you're actively owning it in a sentence structure.
Taking ownership. I like that.
And one last quick tip, especially for people using flashcard apps like Anki, spaced repetition with output. When the card comes up, don't just silently recognize the word. Say it out loud. Even better, try to use it in a quick sentence aloud. That tiny extra step forces active recall.
It's all about deliberately pushing those passive words into active service, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the true goal here, it's really important to remember this. Fluency isn't about knowing 10,000 obscure words. It's about being able to confidently and flexibly use maybe 1,000 or 2,000 common words. That's where real communicative power comes from.
That's such a relief to hear, actually. It feels much more achievable. Okay, let's dive a bit deeper now into something maybe less tangible but incredibly powerful. The emotional side of this.
Ah, yes, the invisible barriers.
Exactly. We've all felt it, right? You've studied, you've listened, you know this stuff, but then the moment comes to speak and your mind just goes blank. You feel this intense pressure. Maybe your voice even shakes a little.
The freeze response.
Yeah. And you either clam up completely or say something super basic, not at all what you wanted to express. This is where we have to confront that invisible enemy. Fear.
Fear is huge in language learning, and it's often multifaceted. It's the fear of making mistakes, the fear of being judged, the fear of sounding stupid, of mispronouncing things, or just not finding the words fast enough.
And these fears, they create actual mental blocks, right? It's not just being nervous.
Absolutely. Your brain essentially goes into threat mode. It shuts down higher cognitive functions like language retrieval because it perceives speaking as unsafe. So you know the word, but your brain literally won't give it to you in that moment. It's like it slams the door shut.
I remember trying to order coffee once in London. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, practiced it in my head, but when I got to the counter, my mouth just wouldn't work. It was mortifying.
That's such a common experience.
Yeah.
And layered on top of this fear, often, is perfectionism. Many learners feel this intense pressure to speak perfectly. Every sentence grammatically flawless, every word pronounced like a native speaker.
Which sounds like a good goal, maybe. Striving for excellence.
It sounds good, but here's the counterintuitive truth. Perfection is the enemy of fluency.
Wow. Okay, unpack that. How is perfection the enemy?
Because chasing perfection makes you afraid to take risks. You wait for the perfect sentence. You overthink constantly. You end up listening way more than you speak. You focus intensely on everything you can't say yet, instead of bravely using what you can say right now.
So fluency doesn't emerge from perfect grammar. It emerges from practice, from trying.
Exactly. From frequent, fearless, imperfect practice. Think about it. Instead of wrestling with a complex conditional sentence like, if I had had more time, I would have prepared better, and then saying nothing because you're not sure.
Right. You get tangled up.
You could just say, I was busy, so I didn't prepare much. Is it grammatically perfect? Maybe not the most elegant. Is it clear communication? Absolutely.
Communication beats perfection.
Every single time. And here's something else that might surprise you. Native speakers make mistakes all the time.
Really?
Constantly. We use fillers like we start sentences and change direction. We use the wrong word sometimes if you keep going. That's fluency. It's not a flawless speech. It's flexible, resilient speech.
And this avoidance creates a feedback loop, doesn't it? Every time you don't speak because you're afraid, your brain learns, see, speaking is dangerous. Good thing we avoided that.
Precisely. But every time you do speak, Even if it's stumbling or imperfect, you teach your brain the opposite. Okay, I spoke, I survived, maybe it's safe after all. You're actively rewiring that fear response.
So how do we consciously break that cycle? How do we teach our brains that speaking English is actually safe, even enjoyable?
It really starts with shifting your goal. Stop aiming for perfect English. Start aiming simply to connect and express. If the other person understands your meaning, you've succeeded. That's the win.
Connection over correction.
Love that.
Yeah.
Connection over correction. Second, and this is hard but crucial, speak before you're ready. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build by speaking. Even just 1 minute a day of brave, imperfect speaking practice trains your brain.
And what about mistakes? We're so conditioned to fear them.
Reframe them. Celebrate mistakes. Seriously, they're not failures. They're evidence of effort and growth, like muscle soreness after a good workout. If you're not making any mistakes, you're probably playing it too safe, staying in your comfort zone.
So instead of asking, did I speak perfectly? Maybe ask.
Ask, did I speak bravely today? Or did I communicate what I wanted to say? That shifts the focus entirely.
That's a powerful reframe.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yes, visualize your success. It sounds a bit woo-woo maybe, but it works. Take just a minute each day. Close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself speaking English confidently. Picture the conversation flowing smoothly. Picture yourself finding the words. Picture the other person understanding and smiling.
Like a mental rehearsal.
Exactly. It primes your brain, lowers anxiety, and actually builds neural pathways associated with successful speaking. Fear is real, but it doesn't have to control your voice. You've already learned so much English. Now it's about giving yourself permission to use it. Imperfectly, honestly, bravely, and often.
Okay, that brain as a library analogy really hits home for this next point. You've spent ages collecting all these books. The words, the grammar rules, the phrases, you know they're on the shelves.
Yep, the library is stocked.
But when someone asks you something in English and you need to pull out the right book to answer, it's like you run to the shelf and the door is just jammed, stuck shut. You know the book is behind there, but you can't get it out in time.
That is exactly the feeling. That's the experience of understanding but not being able to speak fluently. The knowledge is stored, but it's not readily accessible for real-time use.
Why does it get jammed like that?
Well, think about the difference. When you're listening or reading receptive skills, your brain is relatively relaxed. There's usually no intense time pressure. You can pause, reread, look things up. Your brain recognizes patterns and thinks, yeah, I know this, got it.
Low stakes.
Exactly. But speaking, that's a whole different cognitive load. It's like, as you said, juggling 5 balls while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Your brain has to simultaneously search for words, construct sentences, apply grammar rules, manage pronunciation and intonation, handle the social pressure, listen to the other person, and keep the conversation moving forward. If it hasn't practiced that specific multitasking skill enough,
It freezes. The door jams.
precisely, the system gets overloaded. And neurologically, this is fascinating. Brain scans actually show different neural pathways lighting up for passively recognizing a word versus actively retrieving and producing it.
So it's not just a metaphor, it's a literal difference in brain activity.
It really is. That stuck feeling, that jammed door, it reflects that the productive pathways, the ones needed for speaking, haven't been sufficiently strengthened through practice. Neuroscientists call this the difference between receptive skills, understanding, and productive skills, speaking, writing.
Receptive versus productive.
And receptive is just easier. It requires recognition. Productive requires active recall and construction. Think about recognizing a famous actor's face in a movie that's receptive. Easy. Now, try describing that actor's face in detail so someone else could draw it accurately. That's productive. Much harder.
So our brain, the librarian, has filled the library shelves, but we haven't really trained the librarian how to quickly find the right book and check it out when someone asks for it right now.
That's a great way to put it. And a big reason the librarian struggles is often the way we learn the words. Many learners study vocabulary in isolation, like achievement equals reaching a goal.
Just a definition.
Right. But the brain doesn't easily connect that abstract definition to real-life situations, emotions, or your own experiences. So when you need it in conversation, the connection isn't strong. Compare that to learning it in context, like saying to yourself, wow, finishing this difficult project was a real achievement for me. Now it's linked to an experience.
It has roots. It's not just floating there.
Exactly. It's anchored.
Okay, knowing all this, how do we actively unjam that door? How do we train the librarian to be faster and more efficient?
Okay, practical techniques.
Yeah.
First, practice speaking under a little bit of time pressure. This forces your brain to speed up that retrieval process.
Like drills.
Kind of. Set a timer maybe just for 1 minute and talk about your day, describe your breakfast, answer a random question like what's your favorite season and why. The goal isn't perfection, it's speed and activation. You're telling your brain, we need to find these words faster.
A mental sprint. I like it.
Yes. Second, actively use retrieval-based learning for vocabulary. Don't just passively review flashcards. Cover the English word and try to recall it from the definition or translation. Even better, try to use the word in 3 different spoken sentences right then and there from memory.
Forcing the recall.
Forcing the recall, which strengthens those productive pathways. Third, focus on building connections, not just storage. When you learn a new word or phrase, don't just memorize it. Ask yourself, when would I use this? What situation does this fit? Can I use this to talk about my own life, my job, my hobbies? The more connections a word has, the easier it is to find.
Make it relevant.
Make it deeply relevant. And finally, maybe the simplest but most overlooked. Speak aloud, even when you're alone. Narrate your actions. Describe what you see out the window. Have a pretend conversation. This builds the physical and mental muscle memory for speaking, making the pathways more automatic.
So it's not just about knowing the words, it's about making them instantly available.
Precisely. The books are already in your library. Your job now is to practice checking them out quickly and confidently. And like any skill, the more you practice retrieving those books, the easier and faster it becomes.
Which leads perfectly into this idea. Speaking is a muscle. I love this analogy. Imagine someone who watches fitness videos constantly.
For hours and hours.
They know every exercise, the perfect form, and the science behind muscle growth, but they never actually do the exercises. They just watch. Then one day, they walk into a gym and try to lift a moderately heavy weight. What happens?
They're going to struggle.
Yeah.
A lot. Their muscles simply aren't trained for the task, even though their brain knows exactly what to do.
And that's the same for English learners who understand tons but rarely speak.
It's exactly the same. Speaking is a complex skill involving physical coordination, your breath, your tongue, your vocal cords, as well as mental processing. It's a muscle, or maybe a set of muscles, that needs regular workouts to get stronger and more efficient.
So all the grammar study, the reading, the listening, which is all valuable input, as we said, it doesn't automatically translate into fluent speaking?
Not automatically, no. It builds the knowledge base, fills the library. But fluency requires a different kind of training. It requires the practice of speaking itself. Just like you can't learn to swim by reading a book about swimming, you have to get in the water.
You have to actually move those muscles.
You do. If you don't practice actually forming sounds, linking words together smoothly, using rhythm and intonation, your brain and body don't develop the automaticity needed for natural conversation. It's not enough to know how a sentence should be formed. You have to train yourself to produce it fluidly in real time.
But speaking practice often seems to be the thing that gets skipped. Why do you think that is? What are the common excuses or hurdles people face?
Yeah, it does get neglected. Common reasons include, I don't have time, but honestly, even 5 focused minutes a day is beneficial. Or, I have no one to talk to, but you can talk to yourself.
Right? We just covered that.
Fear of mistakes is a huge one, as we discussed. People wait until they feel ready, but that readiness comes from the practice itself. And sometimes it's a genuine misunderstanding, believing that enough input will magically turn into output without dedicated output practice.
Okay, so let's reiterate some simple, practical ways to train this speaking muscle, especially if you don't have a speaking partner readily available.
Definitely. First, talk yourself out loud. Seriously,
Yeah.
it's one of those effective tools. Narrate your day. Okay, now I'm making coffee. I need to find the filters. Explain your opinion on a news story to your reflection. Describe a picture. The goal is pure activation. Get the words flowing.
It feels a bit weird at first, maybe, but it makes sense. It's practice.
It absolutely is. Second, use voice recording. Record yourself talking about a topic for a minute or two, then listen back. It can be cringy initially,
Huh. Yeah, hearing your own voice.
but it's invaluable feedback. You'll notice your common pauses, filler words, pronunciation issues, maybe words you overuse. And importantly, over time, you'll hear your progress, which is incredibly motivating.
Okay, what else?
The shadowing technique we mentioned, listen and repeat immediately. This is fantastic for rhythm, intonation, and building that mouth-brain connection speed. It trains automaticity.
Automaticity making it almost like a reflex.
Exactly. Then there are speaking challenges. You can find tons online, often free. They give you daily prompts or topics to talk about. Great for structure and motivation.
Removes the what should I talk about problem.
Right. And finally, practice thinking in English aloud. Catch yourself thinking in your native language and consciously try to switch to verbalizing those thoughts, even simple ones in English. I'm hungry. What should I eat? Instead of thinking it in your first language.
So it's about converting internal monologue too.
Yes, converting that passive understanding and internal thought into active external speech.
The big takeaway here seems to be treat speaking like any other skill you want to master, like playing guitar or learning to code. You wouldn't expect to get good just by reading about it.
Precisely. It requires consistent, deliberate practice. Your voice, your time, and crucially, your willingness to be imperfect along the way. That's how you build the muscle.
Okay, this leads us perfectly to another, maybe more subtle, but really significant barrier, thinking in your native language.
The translation trap. Yes, this is a big one.
Have you ever done this? You have a perfect sentence formed in your head, in your first language. Then you try to translate it word by painstaking word into English.
And it comes out sounding weird. Or you get totally stuck halfway through.
Exactly, it just doesn't flow. Or the word order feels wrong, or you hit a word you can't translate directly. Why is translating in your head such a roadblock to fluency?
Because it's incredibly inefficient and slow. Think about the steps involved. 1, formulate thought in native language. 2, mentally break it down. 3, search for English equivalents for each word phrase. 4, try to reconstruct the sentence using English grammar rules, which might be totally different. 5, mentally check if it sounds right. 6, finally speak.
Wow. By the time you do all that,
The conversation has moved on. You lose your chance, you feel flustered, and you probably just stay quiet or say something much simpler. It's like trying to drive smoothly while constantly looking back and forth between two different maps written in different languages.
it's fascinating when you think about how kids learn languages. They don't translate, do they?
Not really. They associate sounds and words directly with objects, actions, feelings, situations. They build the English part of their brain directly without constantly filtering it through another language system. That direct connection is key to automaticity.
So the goal for adult learners isn't to forget their native language, obviously.
Absolutely not. Your native language is an asset. The goal is to build a separate, strong mental space where English operates on its own terms, with its own logic, its own connections, not just as a translation layer over your first language.
Can you give some examples of where direct translation really falls apart?
Sure, word order is a classic one. In many languages, you might say something structured like, to me is cold, but in English, the natural structure is, I am cold. Direct translation fails.
Or idioms.
Oh, idioms are killers for translation. You might have an expression in your language that literally translates to, it's raining knives, but the English equivalent is, it's raining cats and dogs. Trying to translate the literal words makes no sense.
Okay, so how do we train our brains to stop this constant translation and start actually thinking directly in English?
It takes conscious effort, but it's doable. First, try connecting new English words to images or concepts, not native language words. When you learn chair, picture a chair. Think about sitting on a chair, not the word for chair in your language. Build that direct link. English word, concept image.
Cut out the middleman, the translation step.
Exactly. Second, practice micro-thinking in English. Start narrating tiny moments of your day in English, in your head at first, then maybe aloud. Okay, need coffee, sun is shining, phone is ringing, gradually increase complexity. I wonder what's for dinner tonight. You're building the habit of English thought.
Like exercising a new mental muscle.
Precisely. Third, focus on learning sentence patterns and chunks, not just isolated words. Instead of just memorizing book, learn common phrases like, I'm reading a book, have you read this book, I need to return this book to the library. Learning these patterns teaches your brain the logic and flow of English sentences.
So you have ready-made structures to plug your own ideas into.
Yes, reducing the need to build everything from scratch via translation. Fourth, try to limit using bilingual dictionaries during speaking practice. They're great study tools, but relying on them constantly in conversation reinforces the translation habit. Try to guess from context or rephrase using words you do know. That's what fluent speakers do when they forget a word, they find another way.
They circumlocute, talk around it.
Exactly. And finally, immerse your mind in English as much as possible. Listen to English podcasts, watch movies without subtitles in your language, change your phone interface to English, create a mini English world around you. The more your brain lives in English, the more it will start to think in it.
It's definitely a habit to break, that translation instinct. It takes time.
It does. It's deeply ingrained. But be patient with yourself. Every single sentence you manage to think directly in English without translating strengthens that new mental pathway. Every day you practice, you're getting closer.
Okay, this feels like a good place to talk about some specific, really practical techniques, maybe even some game changers that directly help bridge that gap between all the English you understand and actually speaking it.
Absolutely. We've touched on some, but let's really focus on a couple of the most powerful ones. Shadowing and chunking.
Shadowing first. We mentioned it briefly, listening and repeating immediately. Why is this so effective?
Shadowing is fantastic because it bypasses a lot of the overthinking. You're not focused on grammar rules or choosing the perfect word. You're focused on mimicking the sound, the rhythm, the intonation, the flow of natural spoken English.
Like learning a song by ear.
Exactly. It trains your mouth and your brain to work together smoothly and quickly. It builds that physical coordination and mental automaticity we keep talking about. The ability to produce language almost without conscious thought.
So how do you do it effectively? Just pick any audio.
Choose something short, maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes, where the speaker is clear and speaks at a relatively normal pace. A podcast clip, a short YouTube video, even a scene from a show. Listen once, just to understand the gist. Then play it again and try to speak along with the speaker, or just slightly behind them, like their shadow. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on matching the rhythm and the melody of the speech. Repeat that same short clip several times.
It feels like a real workout for the pronunciation muscles and the brain's processing speed.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Now, combine that with chunking. Remember, language isn't just individual words strung together. Native speakers rely heavily on chunks.
These are like prefabricated phrases.
Kind of. They're natural groups of words that often go together. Things like, how are you doing? I don't know, on the other hand. As far as I know, at the end of the day, we use these all the time without thinking about the individual words.
So learning these chunks gives you ready-made building blocks for sentences.
Exactly. It dramatically reduces the mental effort of constructing sentences word by word. Instead of figuring out how plus are plus you plus doing, your brain just retrieves the whole chunk, how are you doing, plus ours. It makes you sound much more natural and fluent because you're using the same building blocks native speakers use.
How do you identify and learn these chunks?
Pay attention when you listen and read. Notice groups of words that seem to appear together frequently. Write them down as whole units. Practice saying the entire chunk aloud, smoothly. Try using the chunk in different sentences that are relevant to you. Listen for how native speakers use them naturally.
And you mentioned combining shadowing and chunking.
Yes. When you're shadowing, pay special attention to repeating those meaningful chunks as smooth, connected units. Don't break them up. This really helps internalize the natural rhythm and structure of English.
So instead of robotically repeating, I don't know what to do, you practice saying, I don't know what to do as one fluid unit.
That's the idea. It makes a huge difference.
What are some other quick, powerful techniques people can use?
Speak aloud reading is great. Choose a text, a news article, a short story, and read it out loud for 5-10 minutes daily. Excellent for pronunciation, rhythm, and just getting your mouth used to forming English words.
Simple, but effective.
Question and answer. Practice ask yourself common questions. What did you do last weekend? What are your plans for tomorrow? And answer them out loud in as much detail as you can. Prepares you for real conversations.
Getting the brain ready for those patterns.
We mentioned record and compare, recording yourself and listening back critically, maybe comparing to a native speaker sound clip. It provides objective feedback.
Hard to do, but valuable.
And don't underestimate using fillers naturally. Words like, well, actually, so, like, when used appropriately, they buy you thinking time and make you sound more natural, less hesitant. Don't strive for perfectly eloquent, uninterrupted speech. That's not how people really talk.
It's okay to pause and use those little bridges.
It's more than okay. It's natural. These techniques are game changers because they force the shift from passive knowledge to active use. They build the muscle memory, improve timing, reduce fear through practice, and ultimately unlock fluency.
This really brings us to the heart of making lasting change, doesn't it? It's not just about techniques. It's about rewiring your confidence and building sustainable habits.
Absolutely. And the first big mindset shift here is understanding that confidence isn't some fixed personality trait you're born with or without. Confidence is a skill.
A skill, like playing the piano.
Exactly like that. It's developed through experience, through practice, through repetition. Think about learning to ride a bike. At first you're wobbly, uncertain, maybe scared. You fall.
Definitely fall.
But each time you get back on, each time you manage to go a little further, your brain learns, adapts, and builds confidence. Speaking English is the same. Every single time you open your mouth and speak, even if it's just one imperfect sentence, you're sending the message to your brain. See? I did it. I survived.
So you're literally rewiring your nervous system with each attempt, making it feel less threatening over time.
Precisely. You're desensitizing the fear response and building pathways associated with competence and safety. But this requires consistency, and that's where habits come in.
How do you build habits that actually stick for something like speaking practice?
Key principles. Start small and be consistent. Forget trying to practice for an hour once a week. Aim for just 2 to 5 minutes, but do it every single day. That consistency is far more powerful for habit formation.
Tiny habits.
Tiny habits. Second, create triggers. Link your speaking practice to something you already do automatically. Maybe you shadow for 2 minutes while your coffee brews. Or you talk to yourself about your day while brushing your teeth.
Piggybacking on an existing habit. Clever.
It makes it automatic. Third, track your progress somehow. A simple journal where you note down, practice for 5 minutes today, or record yourself once a week. Seeing improvement, however small, is hugely motivating. And fourth, celebrate every single step. Don't wait until you're fluent to feel good. Every sentence you spoke, every fear you pushed through, every minute you practiced, that's a win. Acknowledge it.
That positive reinforcement seems crucial, especially because the inner critic can be so loud.
Oh, the inner critic. Yes, you have to actively manage that negative self-talk. If your internal monologue is constantly, I'm terrible at this, my accent is awful, people are judging me, you're reinforcing the fear.
So challenge those thoughts.
Actively replace them with positive self-talk or affirmations. Things like, I am improving every day. Mistakes are learning opportunities. It's okay to be imperfect. My voice deserves to be heard. Saying these things to yourself regularly, even if they feel a bit fake at first, starts to counteract the negativity.
And visualization comes back here, too.
Yes. Visualization and mental rehearsal are powerful. Athletes do it all the time. Take a minute or two each day to vividly imagine yourself having a successful English conversation. Feel the confidence, see yourself understanding and responding easily. You're programming your brain for success.
Surround yourself with support, too, I imagine.
Hugely important. Find supportive language partners, join friendly online communities, follow encouraging teachers or channels, avoid people or situations that make you feel judged or belittled for trying. And critically, make speaking fun. Talk about things you're passionate about, your hobbies, your favorite movies, your opinions. Tell stories. If the practice feels like a chore, you won't stick with it. Find ways to make it enjoyable.
It really is a marathon, not a sprint. Patience, courage, consistency.
That's the recipe. But the amazing thing is, every time you choose to speak, you are rewiring your brain. You are building confidence. You are moving towards fluency.
Wow. Okay, we have covered so much ground today. We've really gone deep into this incredibly common, often deeply frustrating experience for English learners. Understanding so much, yet feeling stuck when it comes to speaking.
We've looked at the input-output imbalance, the passive versus active vocabulary gap, the huge role of fear and perfectionism.
Right, the jammed library door, the need to train the speaking muscle, the trap of translating in your head.
And hopefully provided some really concrete techniques like shadowing and chunking, plus strategies for building confidence and habits.
The core message seems clear. Understanding English is a massive achievement in itself. Seriously, pat yourself on the back for that. Your brain has done incredible work decoding this complex language.
Absolutely. But fluency, that comfortable, natural ability to express yourself, that requires bridging the gap between understanding and doing. It demands action, a bit of courage, and that consistent practice. Remember, the library, the books are there. Speaking fluently is about training yourself to open that door to the right shelf quickly and easily.
So let's quickly recap the absolute key takeaways, the pillars we discussed.
1. Balance your input and output. Make time for active speaking and writing, not just listening and reading.
2. Activate your passive vocabulary. Use those words you understand. Say them out loud, personalize them, make them yours.
3. Face the fear. Ditch the perfectionism. Communication beats perfection. Mistakes are proof you're trying. Speak bravely.
4. Train that speaking muscle daily. Short, consistent practice builds automaticity. Talk to yourself.
5. Stop translating.
Yeah.
Work on thinking directly in English using images, chunks, and context. Build that separate English mental space.
6. Use effective techniques. Shadowing, chunking, reading aloud, recording yourself. These are your fluency power tools.
And 7. Build confidence like a skill. Use positive self-talk, visualize success, celebrate small wins, and create lasting habits.
Your journey to more confident speaking really does start today, right now even. Fluency isn't some far-off, unattainable dream. It's a process built on small, consistent steps you take every single day.
Speak aloud, just a little. Embrace the imperfections. Notice your progress. Trust that your voice is getting stronger with every attempt.
Imagine where you could be in 3 months, 6 months, if you started implementing just a few of these things consistently. Imagine joining conversations more easily, expressing your thoughts more clearly. That future is genuinely within reach.
So maybe a super simple roadmap to start. 6 small things you could begin doing this week.
Okay, let's hear it.
1. Spend just 5 minutes every day speaking out loud about anything. Your day, a picture, an opinion.
5 minutes. Totally doable.
2. Try shadowing a short audio or video clip for a couple of minutes daily.
Get that rhythm.
3. Learn and actively use one new chunk or phrase each day. Say it out loud in a sentence.
Build those blocks.
4. Catch yourself being self-critical and replace it with a positive affirmation about your progress.
Rewire the self-talk.
5. Make a conscious effort to think simple thoughts directly in English. Stop translating word for word when you can.
Think in English.
And 6. Maybe once a week, record your voice for a minute and just listen back. Notice one small thing you did well, or one thing to focus on.
Track the progress.
Exactly. Every single one of these steps helps break down that invisible wall between understanding and speaking.
Your voice is there. It's waiting to be heard, waiting to be let out. The door to the library is there. Let's start opening it together. One word, one sentence, one brave attempt at a time.